Wards. Failing. Hurry, before it escapes.
Hello and welcome to session 19 of my Pillars of Eternity 2 Deadfire Lorethrough. We are currently in Pariki's Overlook in Nekataka, in the city of Nekataka. I believe that I have gotten my mic issues all sorted out. I really apologize once more for the last session that was, borderline unwatchable, according to me anyway. I don't know if I'm just being harsh on myself. I know it was much worse than it has been in the past, though. So hopefully we're back to good here, and I can continue making these a little bit more regularly after figuring all this stuff out. One of the things I did was change my mic. I got a new mic, so if you notice any differences with that, positive or negative, obviously it's better than the last one, hopefully, but from before that, and you want to let me know, I'd love to hear that. But anyway, I thought today we would go to the Watershapers Guild. We got a quest from Queen Onekaza to head there. There's some troubles going on over there. But before we do that, I wanted to read from the guidebook. There is a section here, and it's in, the page is a little bit darker than the rest of the pages. And when that happens, that means it's kind of an in-universe writing, not something that the makers at Obsidian put together, but actually, supposedly, people in the Pillars of Eternity world, in Aora itself, have written. And this one was written by Guildmaster Pariki. It is called Three Forms and a Sorrow, and it has to do with the tenets of the Watershapers Guild, which we are going to be visiting. So I thought it would be worthwhile to read this section before we actually got started with the game. So here goes. We've already lost more of our ancestral art than we may ever hope to recover, and those who came before us weep for our forgetfulness. As much as I have sacrificed to see that our students are as strong and as prepared as they can be, there's a limit to what I can teach. I am not alone in suspecting that the wisdom of Ngati's covenant would unlock the Huana such powers as could shape the Deadfire herself into paradise. Until the day when we remember ourselves again, the four forms with all their limitations will have to suffice. The forms are not a roadmap which every student must follow in their sequence, and even masters are not expected to perfect them all. They are presented in their logical order to chart the mental journey that every student must undertake. No judgment is reserved for those who start at the beginning, and no praise heaped on those who skip to the end. The forms are movement, thought, and ritual in harmony, and no two of us can act on them in the same manner. Do not mistake the forms for the wisdom of our ancestors. The forms are mere shadows cast by something larger and greater than we may ever know. At best, they are dim interpretations of what water shaping was meant to be. Not even memories of shadows, but stories we tell of the memories of shadows. 1. The form of grief. This most basic of form teaches that the physical body has limitations and there is only so much a student can learn. A hard lesson for the ambitious, but a necessary one. Try as we might to understand water, we can never be as mutable as this divine element. 2. The form of hope. This form is a riddle to be considered, and one which relies on deep study and personal conclusions. Though our bodies are suffused with water, we are a solid form. We are the water, and the amphora, the bearers and the essence of Ngati's element. Students of this form benefit from practicing in places where the water meets the land, shores, falls, sea caves. Here, one can easily perceive how the mountain bows before the stream, and how the island cowers in the sea. 3. The form of metamorphosis. Students should be aware of their internal water, its presence, and its power. Blood ebbs and flows by the tide of our internal moon. The brain floats in an enclosed tide pool. The gut is a cistern, its walls permeable, turning all that it touches into water. Though our physical limitations cannot be overcome, here we see the struggle is already won. We are water, and water is us. Anything that is water can be bent to our will. 4. The form of transcendence. I can teach nothing of this form. When students come upon its references in the fourth form in our library, I allow them to approach me with questions. It is the province of the young to find interest in futility. With total understanding of water comes the erosion of all barriers. There is no division between land and shore, no difference between flesh and blood. A master of the fourth form could make lakes, steer rivers, and coax the rain from a cloudless day. Gather enough of these masters together, and they could re-sculpt the very face of the Deadfire, raise sunken isles, shift the pull of the ocean, or link atolls to bridges and islands into unifying landmass. Truly, this was water shaping in its original expression, a source of unity and power for the Huana. The gifts from a trickster, once given, are easily taken away. The greatest strength of water shaping is also its most crushing disappointment, and there is nothing I can do to bind that wound. Nothing but teach and dream, and wonder who will take up the remains of our fracturing covenant. And again, this is Three Forms into Sorrow by Guildmaster Pariki. So a little bit there on what the Water Shapers value. So if you were unable to watch the last session, just like a quick recap, we did two things of import. One, we went to Fort Deadlight and we finally killed Benwith. We were able to sabotage the harpsichord that he played with a bomb, and he blew himself up after we created like a really rowdy party. So we got our revenge on Benwith, who is the pirate, the Principe captain who attacked us at the very start of the game after we got our boat working. Then we went to Archimere's. This is why we're in Pariki's Overlook. We went to Archimere's Manor, and we got the Harapo Epic from his storage room. We were able to sneak in, wear his robes, and do it without really getting into a fight, except for one iron construct that was on his roof. But everything else we were able to do without actually killing anything. Also, we started to follow a quest that Seraphin, he wanted us to find an old acquaintance of his called Romaro, and we were attacked by a Principe captain named Malnaj. Actually, we weren't attacked. We were just kind of threatened by her. And then we went to the Luminous Bathhouse here to talk to Udine, the old woman who gave us a little bit of information about where Romaro is. I don't know if we're going to follow that lead this session, but I figured I would at least let you know about it. Because this session, like I said, we are going to go to the Water Shapers Guild, which is right to the north here. Before we do that, though, I want to make sure that we have Takehu in our party. I know I don't like Takehu, but he's a water shaper. He's supposedly Ngati's chosen, so it's probably a good idea to have him with us. There's no inns here, though, unfortunately. So I'm going to have to go to an inn. I'll go to Queen's Birth, I guess.
Good thinking.
Realizing as I'm doing this too, probably should have waited even longer to record this session, but I'm kind of chomping at the bit to get back in. But I haven't been feeling that well the last few days. I got a cough and a scratchy throat, so I'm not sure if that's coming through in my voice or not. But if it sounds a little bit different, that could be why. Okay, so let's...
Now, what can I do for you? See anything you like?
Our party. We'll get rid of...
Farewell and fair winds, dear.
Seraphin and recruit Takehu.
If you want for company, look no further.
So I'm going to pause it while I level Takehu up. Probably have quite a few levels to go to. Okay, so we just leveled Takehu from 8 to level 11. Which also made me realize I'm surprised. I thought everybody gained experience points equally, even if they weren't in the party, but apparently not, because my entire party is level 13, but Takehu is now level 11. That's just my mistake, I guess. Alright, now we head to the Water Shapers Guild.
You mind terribly if I touched your hair?
Of course not. Only touch gently, and they will return the favor.
Huh. That's what Angwer said when we were necking in the Merkberries.
can't go right to the Watershaper's Guild.
What happened here?
Dead bodies over here. Probably should have done this earlier, but this is the Shadow under Nekataka quest. Naga have attacked the guild hall, and the first floor is littered with bodies. None of them Myru. So, Guildmaster Myru can be found at the Watershaper's Guild in Previous Overlook. So, Onekaza wanted us to go find Myru. And then once we got here, then we find out that it's been attacked by Naga. We see some dead Wana here, and then a Naga over here. Doesn't matter if I steal it. Look.
Go no further. There is a situation in the guild hall.
Watershaper glances over his shoulder, his chest rising and falling with deep breaths.
What say? Where is Myru?
Kehu's brow creases with concern.
For what did Nagati send you but to lend your strength?
Nods and claps to Kehu on the shoulder.
All is under control, I say. But the building is closed until Myru cleans up the mess below.
He thumbs over the blocked stairwell. Onekaza sent me to speak with Myru. What is happening?
Nothing beyond the likes of us, I say.
His exhaustion breaks under a proud grin.
Naga swam in from the waterways of our sanctum. We pressed back until they fled underground. Then Myru gathered her forces for a stand at Pariki's tomb. I am to guard the staircase while she routs the last of them. Kira, but Myru is fierce for her years.
He grimaces as another deep rumble shakes the earth under your feet.
Snakes could not have caused that tremor.
Kira, we felt the quakes even before the serpent showed up.
Keinu nods and wipes a bit of dust from the ceiling rafters off his shoulder. Why are they attacking the guild?
I do not know. With great purpose, they throw their bodies back to Rikuhu's bowels. I say this is personal. They strike with anger, not conviction.
He turns his arm and studies a shallow wound. What's causing the tremors?
Not snakes, I say.
Keinu frowns, worrying the back of his head.
Unless they brought a battering ram.
Why haven't you summoned help from the Queen?
We are Watershapers. Onekaza knows we can walk over a few snakes. Myru, though, I say she would not turn down reinforcements.
He nods you up and down, nodding as the idea takes root. It's weird, the only way I can do is do all these quests, and now I have to say, I hope Myru leaves something for me. I don't feel like that's something Bjarta would say, especially after Hasango, where we were actually able to make peace with the Naga. But that makes it sound like he's anxious to kill some Naga.
Ha! I say you will have to run fast. She could cut through Naga like a harpoon through blubber. I will remain and dispatch any snakes who slither past you. Good hunting.
Keinu nods and touches his brow. Before we head down there, let's see if there's anything else. Alright, I'm gonna head back down. We have been down here before, obviously, not before this naga attack.
Happily. Could be true.
Some archers down here.
Yeah, that hit true. Lava beyond seek.
Makes no difference.
Lava beyond seek. Stand together.
Yes.
Yeah.
Slow down like that was it.
Lava beyond seek. Indeed. At once.
I think this is the locked door up here. Oh, it's not locked anymore. Alright, let's search for the locking mechanism this time. Search among the door's ancient carvings. You come upon a stone panel that seems to protect an internal mechanism. The panel remains fixed and unmoving. Okay, let's read the inscription. Huana runes decorate the stone entrance. Ngati would not have gifted her chosen people a watery covenant unless they persisted in deserving it. This sanctum is a covenant of our making. Only the sigil of the covenant in the words of my devotion will open the way. Pariki, Master of the Guild.
Oh, a curse on all snakes.
The Guildmaster lifts her gaze to meet yours, her eyes struggling to focus. She's been slashed and stabbed numerous times, and her robes are soaked with red with blood.
Myru, oh gods, look what they've done to you.
Kehu covers his mouth with both hands as he surveys her injuries.
Peace to Kehu. I gave back 10 times what I took. Too many, even for me.
He sputters in a mouthful of blood, but still manages a red-rimmed smile. Kaza sent me to find you, but I think you need a healer first.
No time for that, I say.
She waves you off, grimacing.
You were too stubborn to die, old shark.
His voice wavers as a fresh gout of blood seeps between Myru's fingers.
For once, Kehu, just listen.
He raises a steady hand to cover his trembling one.
The rod of the deep. Ugh, I've lost it. Taken. You'll need to...
Myru coughs, spitting up blood. For every word she struggles to voice, her breath gets progressively shallower.
Find the rod. Get through the stone door by the entrance.
Rod of what?
No time.
Myru hisses through her teeth.
Wards. Failing. Hurry, before it escapes.
Myru gives you a bleary look as her focus begins to slip away. Escape? What's going to escape?
Pitied Isengati, Lady of Lament, as the pearl orb of the heavens.
She wheezes as she struggles to get the words out. It doesn't sound like she's even addressing you any longer. The Guildmaster's eyes glaze over and she falls silent.
Myru? Myru?
Kehu takes her by the shoulder and shakes, gently at first, then harder. At last he stops, pulling away and bringing his hands up to clutch his brow.
Ngati. She's dead.
I still don't know why this is happening.
Myru told us to seek a rod and a door. A vague plea, I say, but I would honor her last wish.
He touches her brow, sighing. Strange last words.
The words of Pariki's devotion, I say. An old prayer to Ngati.
Kehu furrows his brow.
It must have meant something to her.
Let's go. There's nothing we can do for her.
Akira, the others will see to her once we've cleaned up the last of this mess.
Kehu regards Myru's corpse one last time before turning away. Oh. Speak with her. Spirit. Retrieve Guildmaster Myru's rod. Probably not that fine rod that she had on her person right there.
The wheel. How it tugs at me. Akira, and how bright you look.
Myru's attention snaps toward a distant speck of light, but she shakes it off to remain in the moment.
At least in death, I can complete a thought.
He grimaces down at her swiftly diminishing body.
My rod and the words of Pariki's devotion will open the way to the inner sanctum, past the sealed door.
Myru closes her eyes and concentrates.
Pitied is Ngati, Lady of Lament. As the pearl orb of the heavens crosses her view, her eyes well with tears, as constant as rain. But the moon's skyward journey continues apace, the lover's affection as ephemeral as fingers touching.
Be words of Pariki's devotion. Myru opens her eyes again. She nods as her form grows indistinct.
You must strengthen the wards, no matter what it tells you.
Thank you, Myru. Rest well. Her mouth moves again, emitting no sound. As she fades from sight, she raises her hand to point toward the entrance of the sanctum. She reaches to touch Takehu's cheek, but of course her hand drifts through his skin. He shivers, touched by a passing breeze. I'll take that. This statue depicts Naomao, a woman, her hand extended and grasping at the air. An eroded plaque sits by her feet. Inspect the lingering soul. I don't know if I read this yet, but I guess I'll just read it here. Your vision bobs with the motion of the sea. You stand aboard this deck of swift winds where your mates share bemused, self-congratulatory glances as they work. One of them claps your back with approval. Shake off the gesture. You step back and aim a reproachful look at your mate, however friendly his intent. You know there will be time for reprieve when you're squared away in Nekataka. Something cuts through the water at your port side, an enormous shape just beneath the waves. Someone shouts that the winds have turned in your favor at last. This is followed by an enthusiastic cheer among the crew. You don't share in their mirth. Eyes to the horizon, I say. You bring home a mighty gift, though it takes an unusual form, one that you pray to Ngati you were able to keep in check. The vision dissipates, and your land legs reassert themselves. You know one thing for certain. That was no whale swimming alongside Pariki's boat, and I know that because I am a hunter.
Look there.
Razorgill? Must not have been perceptive enough to notice that my first time through here.
It makes no difference.
That wasn't half bad.
Summoned a greater earth blight.
Mother Ngati.
What's this thing doing? I wanted to avoid going in here, but it looks like I don't have a choice.
Stand together!
So it's destroyed them anyway.
Fear not, Rapin.
This is named Ziha. what that setting is, because there's doing a lot of that slowdown. I thought that just happened at the end of the fight, but it's happening a lot. And getting a new computer should be 100% exciting, but I guess it can also be a little bit annoying as you try and find some stuff. Alright, so here's the Rod of the Deep Hunter. This unassuming length of driftwood hums with power, and waves of energy seem to break against its surface with the relentless pressure of the tides. The copper is well preserved despite its age, and it pulls with an invisible force like the tug of a dowsing rod. And that's what we need to open the door.
I hear you.
I'm gonna pause it and see if I can figure out these settings. Alright, I think I got it. The tunnel descends sharply into murky waters. There's no telling just how far into the mountain it goes. This decay is not slowed down by water. Tremors are increasing in strength. If something's about to escape the guild ruins, as Myru believed, it's going to happen soon. Touch the door with the Rod of the Deep Hunter. The door reacts at once. A stone panel shifts aside to reveal a circular dial engraved with symbols. This would appear to be a locking mechanism requiring a precise combination. Study the symbols around the dial. Brushing aside a layer of dust reveals a circular dial of pictographs. Though you cannot guess their relevance or relation to each other, you recognize the symbols themselves. The first is a full moon, its light beaming down on Aora. Next is a Huana symbol of Andra, classically depicted with the head of an anglerfish and her aspect as Ngati. The next is a pair of hands reaching out for each other, their fingertips just barely making contact. So full moon, Ngati, hands. Finally, and the last is the rain falling powerfully and inexorably. Okay, so I gotta go look at this full text of Pariki's devotion again. So we have Ngati, moon, rain, moon, hands. Okay, so Ngati, moon, rain, moon, hands. So to rotate it counterclockwise. Ngati. Hear a grating mechanical clunk of stone tumblers setting in place behind the door. And moon. You hear a grating mechanical clunk of stone tumblers setting into place behind the door. I won't read that every time. Clockwise again for the rain. Back to the moon. Twice clockwise to the hands. You hear the clattering and whirring as the dial recedes into the door, and there's a low rumble as the doorway opens inward, revealing a dark, narrow tunnel beyond. Travel through the passage. The air beyond the passage is humid, reeking of stagnant water and something else, something old, which raises the hairs on the back of your neck. As you take your first step, an ear-splitting roar rises in volume and echoes down the passage, shaking loose the surrounding rock. Go through anyway. You navigate the dark, narrow tunnel, pressing your shoulders together to fit the passage. Your Elifas. We have a dragon here. Guess would be a water dragon because There it is. Oh yeah, we can see its webbed hands and everything like that as well. As the massive upheaval of water settles, the air thickens with oppressive humidity. It takes a moment for your eyes to adjust before you can make sense of the shape that breached from the depths.
How in all Aora have they kept it down here?
This would be a great fishing story.
Holy gone, but it's beautiful. And I'll bet smart as a whip and just as mean.
Sucks in a sharp breath.
Have you come to deliver me from this prison of my own making?
The dragon flares his nostrils and glares at you. Prison of my own making. Let me get my bearings first. Who are you?
I am Skirilofus, Guardian of the Isles.
Sior Lafis. I'm gonna try to get that right. He slaps his tail against the floor.
You ever consider a nickname?
Sior Lafis narrows his eyes at Adair.
Just give it some thought, is all I'm saying.
What is this? One of Andra's whelps?
His snout wrinkles at Takehu.
Hello.
Takehu swallows. Steam jets from the dragon's nostrils. Bjarter, captain of the Defiant.
I would see this vessel of yours someday, but we will return to that. You can only be here for one reason. You serve the Huana.
His eyes narrow into slits.
This prison is built on a foundation of their lies.
What are you talking about?
You stand in the sanctum of the Watershapers, those who make parlor tricks of Ngati's art. An art in decline. The Huana Covenant has failed. With each grain of sand surrendered to outsiders, Ngati draws her favor away from her chosen people.
Stand in the sanctum of the Watershapers, those who make parlor tricks of Ngati's art. The covenant must be a covenant that the Huana made with Ngati. What covenant is that?
One struck in a different time, when the gods showered devotion on Huana.
That sounds like it's referring to the same time that Periki was referring to in the bit of history that I read before this session, where they were talking about the forms. And he said that these forms were a good start, but it's not the same thing as our covenant used to be.
The guild hides how their acolytes struggle. Their ancestral forms no longer respond as they once did. Soon, there will be no Watershapers to remember them. When their mighty talent went into decline, I gave the Huana the strength to raise the very sea against our enemies. For my generosity, they bound me to this chamber by my soul.
Mighty talent went into decline. I gave the Huana the strength to raise the very sea against our enemies. So, the Watershapers trapped Sior Lafis down here after he lent some of his own talents to them, his own strength to them, probably as a way of being able to sap his strength whenever they wanted to, without his permission.
This cannot be true, I say.
The half-breed's naivete is charming. I see why you suffer his company. And now the Deadfire dies in my absence. The luminous Adra shrieks in agony, calling out for a guardian.
You're the reason the Watershapers are so powerful?
The Huana of ages past could have shaped the very Deadfire to their liking. Now their backs have turned against Ngati's covenant. Their art is an echo of its former glory.
Raising a shaking hand to his mouth, Takehu blinks up at the dragon.
By Ngati, he speaks true.
Your disgrace. So pure and concentrated.
The other Watershapers knew nothing about this?
Clever Pariki twisted the forms of her art. Rather than give obeisance to Ngati, they draw from the wards of this prison.
So Pariki herself is the one that actually started this and probably at least had a hand in imprisoning the dragon. The dragon shows his teeth, his steaming breath rising from between each fang.
None but the masters of the guild ever knew this.
So Myru must have known too.
Mother, Ngati never told me this, I say.
Takehu raises a shaking hand to his brow.
The goddess and her insufferable tests. She never raised a fin to deliver me from this prison.
Lapis growls long enough to send a tremor through the chamber. Your soul is stuck here. Let me take a look. Read his soul? Let's see if he lets us.
You are a watcher. Of all the kith who could have entered this chamber, how intriguing.
Submerging the dragon's soul feels at first disorienting, like perusing the stacks of a vast library. The energy and vibrancy that should color his soul is gray and worn. In the shadows, a dark, formless thing reaches out to you in desperation. The wards around the stone floor drag the essence down and disperse its energy elsewhere to the Watershaper students of Nekataka. Yeah. As it touches you, the weight of the prison is like an anchor. You withdraw from the sensation, feeling shaky and depleted. I've looked into your soul, it's true.
Believe what you will. My duty to the archipelago is all that matters. Freedom comes like the tide, and the Deadfire heeds my call. I sense a rod among your belongings.
Lapis narrows his eyes and watches you carefully.
My gift to Pariki, my covenant with the Huana. Another broken promise. It made the enchantments of this prison and can destroy them. It can set me free.
The dragon lashes its tail in eager, repetitive circles.
We have a responsibility, I say.
Trailing off, Takehu pulls absently on one of his hairs.
But if he speaks truth, the Huana are better served if he remains.
That sounds like it's probably a decision that many guildmasters have taken before when they realize the truth of where their power actually comes from. I would guess that at first they were kind of horrified, but then realized that it's the power. And Takehu is exactly that. He recognized what happened, was horrified, but now he's realizing that if the dragon stays down here, the Huana are better served.
Your opinion is irrelevant, half-breed.
I have questions about you first, dragon.
I will tolerate your curiosity.
You think of yourself as a guardian?
That is a duty as old as the islands themselves. In ages past, there were 3 guardians. They watched over the Isles, the Adra, and lost to Kaizo.
That is similar to the tenets of Ngati's covenant.
Takehu furrows his brow.
You are perceptive for a fish.
What do you know of Ukaizo?
A city where Kith spoke to gods. The heart of an empire. I know only what I hear. Ukaizo was gone before my time. Even its myth is dust and ashes.
He spoke of 3 guardians.
Creatures of unparalleled age and power. Bound, like me, to strengthen the Huana.
I wonder who else is.
If they still lived, no foreign ship would trespass on these islands.
Anything on your mind, Takehu?
Akira, there is too much running through my head, I say.
Takei, who touches his forehead spot.
For another time.
Takei, who reaches up and touches his cheek with a shaking hand.
The fish is not ready to know what he only now suspects.
Something like a chuckle echoes in your mind. Back to my other questions.
Kaizo is lost beyond all memory. Better to forget that monument of hubris.
How did you get in here?
As outsiders threatened the Isles, the power of the Huana waned. Crafty Pariki sought me out to strike a deal. She used my soul as a crutch for her Watershapers. In exchange, she vowed to protect the Adra.
Aliens are mining the Adra.
Look upon me. Are you surprised that the Huana do not keep their promises?
Yep, there it is.
I came as an honored guest. The Watershapers grew strong. The new conflicts replaced the old.
They basically formed a covenant with him in order to lure him down here and then trapped him when he was down here. Or at least Pariki did that. I don't know if she had help.
When I resolved to go, my captors left me here, cheated and howling in the dark.
Bound here by your soul?
Pariki and her crew forged wards that anchor my soul to this chamber. I am not chained here, but I am compelled to remain.
What if we excise the imprisoned portion of your soul from the rest?
No, my soul is not for the taking. Not by you, or any of the outsider spirit thieves.
Well, he wants to keep his soul, so I'm gonna let him do that. I'm not gonna try and convince him of anything else. Back to the negotiations then. I'd like to discuss the matter of your release.
Talk, then.
How do I free you?
Pariki and her mages crafted this prison with the rod you carry.
He tips his head to the raised stones around the chamber.
The rod could destroy the wards as well.
Why is this rod so important?
It contains a fragment of my soul, gifted willingly to share of my strength. The Huana twisted it against me, just as they twist themselves.
Boiling, frothy water drips from the edges of his jaws. Allow me to inspect this prison. A low growl builds in the back of his throat.
Your inspection is irrelevant. I have seen enough of these walls for the both of us. The wards are the bars of my prison, and the rod you carry can bend them apart like stalks of wheat.
It might be safer to siphon power and let the wards collapse on their own, but I won't bore you with the details.
If you think it prudent.
Sir Alafis raises one of his scaly brows.
Time has weakened the wards enough that I can leave this cell without you. There will be a debt of pain that I have no wish to incur. Betray me, and I will summon as many waves of naga as it takes to shatter this prison.
The dragon unclenches his jaw and watches you in silence. So I kind of have a rule in these games, and for dragons, if you don't have to kill them, then I don't like to kill them. I know as part of like a completionist attitude, I did kill the Sky Dragon in the first game, and the Alpine Dragon, but I don't think there was a choice not to kill the Alpine Dragon. I think that's just happens. Bog Dragons I didn't kill, and Sir Alafis I don't want to kill, so I would prefer to free him, even though Onekaza probably won't like that very much, but that's okay.
Of course.
Raised wardstone stands out from the watery floor of the dragon's prison. The runes engraved along its surface glow with a pale light. Inspect the wardstone. Enchantments coursing through the stonework keep the dragon tethered to this spot and siphon energy from his soul. The spells of imprisonment look more recent. Metaphysics? The siphoning enchantment merely sips at the dragon's essence and disperses it elsewhere. You think it could be used to store the essence, enough to last decades or longer if used responsibly. You can tell nothing else about the enchantments. The ward flashes, causing the Rod of the Deep Hunter to tremble in your pack, as if the two share some arcane affinity for each other. Use the Rod of the Deep Hunter to disable the enchantments. Yeah. The runes crackle as their power dissipates. In seconds, their light is extinguished and the shapes of each arcane sigil lose definition until they fade into total obscurity.
I can feel the weight of this pit diminishing around me. Do not stop now.
Say nothing. He follows your progress with narrow eyes. Alright, so we got one. Let's keep going. Again, use the Rod of the Deep Hunter to disable the enchantments. The runes crackle as their power dissipates. In seconds, their light is extinguished and the shapes of each arcane sigil lose definition until they fade into total obscurity. I wanted to read this too. Okay. The Rod of the Deep Hunter is the key to his freedom. Warned me against wasting his time or will send Naga after me. In exchange for his freedom, the dragon implied that he will assist me in a time of need. So yeah, I'll be on the side of a dragon if I do this. Even though Onekaza won't like it. A raised wardstone stands out from the watery floor of the dragon's prison. The runes engraved along its surface glow with a pale light. The rod, and then total obscurity again. And the last one. Sirolafis blinks down at you and rolls his shoulder, as if for the first time.
The burden of this prison is lifted. I will return to the beloved Atra.
Sirolafis fluxes his claws and lets out an exultant bellow. This is a weird question. I mean, the only person that would really know about his imprisonment is Myru, who is dead. Let's see what he says to this. Will you consider showing mercy against those who wronged you?
Mercy? Only for those who showed mercy to me. The rest...
He splits his jaws into a lethal grin.
Should your hopes darken on the high seas, you will feel a welcome chill as my shadow passes over your deck. Depend on it.
Roaring with triumph, Sirolafis aims his body at the rocky ceiling and takes off. Sirolafis beats his wings, lifting his massive form above the ground of his watery prison. He stretches open his jaws and roars, the ensuing blast blowing out the top of his prison, exposing it to the sky above. For the first time in untold years, natural light floods the interior of the chamber. He snaps his wings a second time, flying through the exit with wild abandon, tilting at reckless, unpracticed angles as he builds incredible speed. When he emerges, shrieks of horror and dismay grow in volume. Moments later, as he passes out of view, you hear an explosion of splintered wood, upheaved water, and incredible devastation on the southwestern corner of the island. So who did he attack then? The Queen will expect a full report on the events that occurred at the Watershaper's Guild. She can be found in the rooftop garden of the Congo Palace in the Serpent's Crown. Oh, what's in here? Got Some living iron and luminous Adra dust. And all these? Nice.
Captain, a word.
What's on your mind?
When I joined the guild, I was a fish in a dream.
Takehu looks at the ground between his feet.
Watershapers were the keepers of our oldest covenant, protectors of history. Heroes, I say. Now I see the guild only for what it has become. Ikera, a perversion of the oldest Juana art.
He grimaces and looks away. The guild might need a new way forward if it hopes to endure.
If the guild cannot depend on its own teachings, then difficult times lie ahead of us all. I do not want to tarry in this house of regret a moment longer. My thoughts will be clearer in time. You are kind to listen, I say.
Let's be off. Okay.
Onekaza will want your report, I say. Pariki should have known we could not keep a dragon forever.
Everybody already knows what happened, I guess. See.
What madness has its clutches around Pariki's overlook? The mountain shakes, bellows of anguish echo over the wind.
Onekaza raises a trembling hand to her brow.
And a shadow rose from the streets to cover Queen's birth on its way to the sea. Now the traders look to me for answers I do not have.
Onekaza pounds her armrest with her fist.
Nothing but panic and contradiction make their way to my ears. Tell me what happened.
Can't just tell her straight up. I can lie and say that the Naga invaded to rescue an ancient sea dragon. I could say the Watershaper's Guild is a mess on account of some snakes and a dragon. So just be like very basic, or the guild had a very, very sizable infestation in the basement. I'd be kind of sarcastic about it. The Watershaper's Guild is a mess on account of some snakes and a dragon.
You do not jest.
The Queen blinks and slowly rises to sit straight in her throne.
About many things, Highness. Not this, I say.
Takehu folds his arms and closes his eyes. Something about the gesture causes Onekaza to hold her attention on him.
For what did the guild endanger my city with this creature? I will hear Myru's report.
Onekaza searches over your shoulder. Pariki captured the dragon long ago and built the guild around his prison.
Pariki was a whaler before she took up Nagati's art. I say her largest trophy was a secret, well kept.
She sighs, cradling her chin on her palm.
Kahanga legends tell us that our ancestors made compacts with the creatures of the Deadfire.
Onekaza cuts herself off and snaps her fingers to an attendant.
Send for Ranga Hauhua of the Wapua tribe. If she could soften the hearts of my cats, I say dragons are not beyond her.
As her attendants make for the exit, Onekaza leans back in her throne and considers.
Ikera, but I cannot believe... Highness, would you trap another of Ngati's ancient pets?
I would go any distance to protect my people. Can Nagati's chosen say the same?
Onekaza turns back to you, leaving Takehu to pull in his hair and frown.
Speak on, Watcher. As surely as a tide swelling over the shore, I feel you are not finished.
All I know is that anyone who learned water shaping here leached off the dragon's soul. Do I want to say that? Dragon's prison wards strengthen the souls of your water shapers. The forms of water shaping are fabrications made to tap into the dragon's prison. Maybe I'll say that. All of these seem to be saying, yeah, if we got another dragon, then you'll be able to get more power again. So I'll say the forms of water shaping are fabrications made to tap into the dragon's prison.
Then Pariki's students had an advantage in their lessons, I say, and Myru's after her, all at the cost of this beast's freedom.
Onekaza raises her brow.
If water shaping is not as our ancestors taught it, we cannot reckon how much of the original form we have lost.
A sinking feeling accompanies her thoughts, as if Onekaza feels a vast well of uncertainty opening beneath her.
What became of the dragon, Watcher, if the power of this beast strengthened our guild?
I set him free. Nothing in Onekaza's outward bearing changes, but the silence of the rooftop garden feels especially oppressive. Then you notice the scratching sound of her nails in the armrest of her chair, and her tigers glance up at you with sudden attentiveness.
No, no, I say! Nagati close her teeth around your boat, and Wodika scrawl your name in her log of disgrace.
What the guild did was wrong. I said it right.
If my apprentices struggle to learn Nagati's art, then we have no hope of replenishing the ranks. And I do not have the luxury of patience. I cannot keep Rawatai in check if they do not recognize our strength. The guild can outlast this, but our enemies will test us beyond what we can endure.
I didn't set out to damage the Huana cause, Highness.
Then you are nothing but a fish puppet Ngati sent to trick us with cheap lures of hope. Even in desperate times, this falls beneath the expectations of the Kahanga crown. You may see yourself out.
A wave of concerned whispers crosses from one end of the rooftop to the other. Farewell, Highness. I wish I could have done more for the Huana. She winces. An expectant murmur grows among the onlookers of the rooftop garden.
Wait. Watershapers have kept this city in the hands of the Kahanga. A queen cannot do this alone.
She looks up at you, a deep furrow cleaving her brow.
You may work off your debt to the crown. I will swallow my pride if it keeps an ally under my roof.
The tension in the garden begins to ebb with the softening of Onekaza's tone. Thank you for the second chance, Highness.
Thank the goddess. Pray that she finds you worthy of service. My water-shaping masters will arrive soon, and I say the guild will be stronger for their guidance. But a queen's work is not finished until she has endured all of Nagati's trials. I could send birds to every Ranga and rally them to our cause, but Neketaka needs more than strength. We need pure Huana fury. We need the Wahaki.
Wahaki is an aggressive and isolationist Huana tribe. The Wahaki have consistently pushed back against Valian and Rawatain efforts to expand into the outlying islands of the Deadfire archipelago.
My brother calls the Wahaki the last true Huana. He's severe on the Kahanga, but I do not call him wrong.
Onekaza thumbs her chin and nods.
The tribe hates all foreigners. Passing ships are attacked on sight, and explorers never make it back to the beach.
Go on.
I have hesitated to let the trading companies see my teeth, but those days are behind us. Filling the seas with Wahaki war canoes will strike terror in the heart of even Rawatai's iron fleet.
Onekaza smirks at the idea. I have questions before I agree to this.
Ask. I would not have you journeying to Oryokoiki uninformed.
She opens her palm to you and nods. I'd like to know more about the Wahaki.
It is said the Wahaki did unspeakable things to survive the downfall of our ancestors, cannibalizing the injured and making blood sacrifices to the gods. As the dust settled, the other tribes learn to keep their distance from the tribe. Those who do not think like my brother say the Oaxaca never recovered from the loss of Ukaizo.
Oryokuiki. What does that mean? Oh, I can actually say Oryokuiki, the cursed land of corpses.
The corpses refer to the pungent koiki trees. The curse.
He shrugs.
There are Nguithan ruins on the isle. I say our ancestors were either superstitious or had no taste for koiki.
What do you seek to gain from this alliance?
The Huana are always stronger together than we were apart. I want the Oaxaca to remember this. Today, we are tribes, united under the gods. Tomorrow, we can be an empire, and the Deadfire our protected haven.
I've heard enough.
Akira, then you will seek out the Oaxaca and bring their strength to the Kahanga?
If I encounter any Oaxaca on my travels, I'll consider your proposal.
Akira, only do not venture near Oryokuiki without a plan in mind. The Oaxaca do not welcome meandering voyagers. There is a phrase which will protect my royal herald. Over crumbling mountains, across blighted seas. If you remember this, it could save your life.
Onekaza dismisses you with a nod. Over crumbling mountains, across blighted seas. I'll remember that.
Write it down if you must, but recall it when the time comes. The Oaxaca are not a trusting people.
Onekaza nods and dismisses you with a wave. Let's see what Takehu has to say.
I thought Aethys was too busy kicking over islands to blunt his teeth with mortals.
Takehu scrutinizes you with an unreadable expression.
What say? You must take something from all this idle chatter with the gods.
Nothing new, I've been at this before.
For what does he listen to you, then? The gods I know are tight of lip and hard of hearing.
He's searching his feelings and needed a mortal perspective.
I could not imagine the inner workings of a god.
He trails off, looking away.
But then, I am not meant to. It is for mortals to flail in the darkness, I say, while gods point us toward light.
I've felt that weight of authority before. I have no desire to feel it again. As he weighs your words, Takehu winces a little. Takehu pinches his lower lip and smiles.
To be worshipped, to have others interpret your design.
Takehu sighs, pulling back his hair.
It is not fair, I say. For what should a god worry about such cares, when theirs is the hand on the tiller?
What should a god worry about his cares when there's the hand on the tiller? He's still talking about Aethys. He pauses, blinking at you with a handful of hair pressed between his fingers. That was because of my insight. I'm assuming I am referring to Andra because Takehu is supposedly a son of Andra. Or Ngati, as he would say.
Kara, I did not wish to burden you. These days I am having to think harder than my pampered years. You will forgive the handsome fish if he is as curious as the green god.
He rubs the back of his neck and chuckles.
At least Aethys has you to keep him in check. What happens when we catch up to him is something for future Takehu to worry about.
He smiles wanly. The world around you darkens, and once again you feel an insistent tug for your attention, the pull centering from Takehu's soul. Surrender to the sensation. Once again you find yourself in Andra's waterlogged hall of power. The tired swaying of bioluminescent chandeliers casts uneven rays of light down on her court.
Scratch under the wet clay of any artist and you hatch a lifetime of fear and doubt.
Her props her chin on her fist and studies Takehu with a sigh.
My boy doesn't fear the gods. He only fears what he'll compromise by living up to his potential. But isn't it easier to let sculptures represent you? Poor thing. Nothing he does could disappoint me. But that is a mother's prerogative.
She pulls away with a wet slapping sound. You receive the mental impression of a wink. The world reasserts itself all around you. Takehu wears an uncertain smile, tipping his head inquisitively. Huh, so Andra just spoke to us about Takehu. Let's be off. Okay, so I think I am actually going to end it here. I know this is a lot shorter than these Pillars 2 videos have been, actually. But like I said, I have been having a little bit of trouble with my mic. Just want to make sure everything turns out fine. Plus, since I'm sick, it hurts a little bit to talk, so I don't want to overdo it. So thank you, as always, for joining me. Please let me know if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, clarifications, those kinds of things. And let me know if there were still issues with the mic that maybe I'm not aware of. And as always, I hope you will join me next time for more sentences and paragraphs. Bye, everybody.